Welcome to another episode of The Outdoor Analyst, where the group think mindset is overcome and facts prevail. Now, today, the purpose of this review is to go over a brand that I have used extensively and that I actually kind of like. It's Bark River Knives. Now, I want to do this because I've seen so much fandom on one end and then wrath on the other, and people that are not really telling the truth on YouTube about what you're going to get with a Bark River knife. Nobody wants to step on anybody's toes, it seems like. So I've owned probably about 100 of these, bought, sold, traded, Facebook groups, YouTube, yes, I'm on YouTube, but eBay too, mostly eBay and Facebook groups. And the reality is that most of these knives are not what people are making them out to be. So this brand, I just want to break it down. My initial impressions of the Bark River knives came years ago when I bought my first bushcrafter. I'd seen tons of YouTube reviews about them. Everybody said they are the most comfortable handles out there. They are the most slicey blades out there. And they are perfect. They're custom almost. They're semi-custom made, but they're pretty much perfect. So I bought my first Bark River with that in mind, and I bought a nice bushcrafter. And when I got it, I was actually really disappointed with it. Before that, the nicest knife I'd really owned was a Falk-Neven. And my Falk-Neven F1 and S1 and even A1 at that point were all actually pretty perfect. They looked great. Their grinds were just perfection. They sliced great and they were amazing. And not the most ergonomic, but they worked really well. And I've done a lot of work in the woods with them. I've done some hunting, skinned a few, field dressed a few deer with the S1, and it worked great. They were great knives. So I was like, oh, let's step it up. Let's get a Bark River. And then it came in, and the handle was not perfect on the scales. The grind was not even on it. Even on this one, it's not. It's a big surprise. It's Bark River. And I was pretty ticked off with it. And I said, I just spent, I think at that point it was only like $250. And I spent $250 on a knife. That is a lot of money for a knife. And for knife guys, it's probably not. That's about your average. But if you're usually spending 30 to 50 bucks on a really good knife, so what you thought, when you spend 250, you expect perfection. And I think that's kind of what started off my Bark River, just kind of like just truthfulness. I really wanted to understand what was going on. And I became a huge fanboy after that because I got online and people said, on the Facebook groups, oh, they're a semi-custom. Everyone's different and they're going to have mistakes. They're all going to be completely different. Love the mistakes. So I went with it. I started trading, selling them, making money off of them, just enjoying. So I've tried almost every Bark River out there. Really have. And the fact of the matter is, I know a ton about them now. And I've only kept four. Only kept four. And then I'll kind of go into the reasons why I've done that. So my original impressions were kind of ticked off. After that, became a fanboy, thought everything was perfect about them. They were the best brand out there. And I started to realize some things after I'd owned a ton of other brands. And the reality is that you're going to get a really nice steel. You're going to get a good blade when you buy a Bark River. It will work perfectly for the tasks that they're created for, generally. For these, this is a really nice, thin Scandivex 3V steel. Heat treats, they're going to be great. I have no issues with their heat treats. They do well. Yeah, you're going to chip, you're going to roll anything that you do something stupid with. And that's 3V steel all around. I have chipped 3V. I have rolled 3V from multiple brands. It just happens. Even Crewwear, I've done that too. It just happens. But from Bark River, you're going to get a really thin, slicey edge on almost every knife. Even their really big ones. They're very slicey. So you can feather stick with some of their biggest knives that you can't do with other knives because they're super thick behind the edge. And even though they're Scandi, they're still really thin when you get down here. So these are great woodworkers. This is a full height convex. It is insanely thin. So it makes for a great camp knife. It also means, even though they're convex, they're not going to be extremely tough, as in convex usually makes your knife, it has more beef behind the edge, but these are so thin that if you do something stupid to a Bark River, you're going to bend it, you're going to deform it a little bit, Or if you do something really bad, you can chip them. Yeah, and they do have lots of different steels. So, they're all different on that. A2 is going to work differently than 3V. It's a little bit, it's not nearly as tough. CPM 154, they do a great job with their steels, their L-Maxes and whatnot. But they all are going to be really thin behind the edge. So inevitably that means because they're so thin, even though they're convex, they're going to be a little bit weaker. So don't expect these to be just monsters out in the woods. And yeah, I've taken trees with grizzlies, JX5s, some of their big bowies, just taken, trees that big down. No problems. Did I have rolls or chips? Not in those, but I have done in other areas when you knock something really hard in there. So what are you getting? Steel-wise, you're getting good steel. Blade geometry, you're getting a really thin slicey edge. What you're also going to get on your steel is really uneven grind lines on every knife. I've only had like one knife I consider perfect out of about 100 from Bark River. They're going to be super uneven. They're not going to match up side to side. They just aren't. I've had a grizzly where the fuller on it on one side was about, see if this fuller's here on the other side, even this one's not even, but it was down to there. It was about an inch off, and that is unacceptable. And that was really ridiculous. And I thought, that's a one-off, it'll never happen. And then I started getting more and more and more and realized there is no such thing as a perfect edge from Bark River. Are they gonna work? Yes. Are they gonna be perfect? No. No. They will all have mistakes in them. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I do love them. They're thin, they're slicey, they feather stick better than most knives out there. Pardon. So let's kind of go on to the sheaths. Your average sheath is going to be a mid-grade leather, and it's going to be okay. This is for my Bravo 1.25 LT. This is going to be for the Bark River Bushcrafter, and then the Ultralight Bushcrafter. Do they work? Yes. Are they super nice? No. They're mid-grade. I've cut holes in lots of these from knives poking through them. You have to really treat them to make sure they last a long time. One of the best ones I've ever got, and I love it, was the Grizzly sheath with the Gen 1, Gen 2s. These are some thick leather. This is the nicest sheath I think they've ever produced. Really, really nice sheath. Guess what? They don't do it anymore, and they never will. Even on the last gens, the sheaths, I would say, sucked. So, they were mid-grade leather, kind of on the lower end for the newer generation ones. So sheaths are okay. You're going to get a leather sheath. Some people love Kydex more. I'm kind of a love-hate relationship. I like them both. They're all going to go in a backpack generally when I go out to the woods. And I'll just actually say what I do with these, just so you kind of know my background. 1, I like to hunt. 2, I like to hike. 3, where I hunt, I like to take down, it's a property, it's a family woods. So I try to take care of it, knocking down trails and whatnot. I think it's fun to do with big knives. It's also more practical to do with saws and axes, and usually I end up doing that. But, one of the 2 or 3 days out of the year that I go and do trail maintenance, yeah, I'm going to bring big choppers and just have fun and get exhausted doing it. But it's a good time. And then usually what I do with my knives is just make fires at home. Working that fireplace, tons of feather sticks, splitting little logs open. That's what I do, and that's what I enjoy doing. And in reality, that's what most people do. They're just the weekend warrior. They're making fires throughout the winter. And honestly, these are great for doing that. Never had any issues with them. But that's just kind of my background of what I do with them. So performance for these, what I'll actually kind of put most Bark Rivers into is just a general purpose knife. They're usually not very specific and really awesome at one thing. This is an ultralight bushcrafter. Is it the best bushcrafter for the size? Not at all. It's not a super scanty edge on there. Is this the best bushcraft knife, even though this is the Bark River Bushcrafter? Not at all. I love it, but it doesn't have a scanty. It is not the most ergonomic because these are really thin. What you're going to get with a Bark River knife, don't let anybody tell you any different. They're going to be ergonomic, but they're going to be thinner than a lot of other brands out there. And it doesn't matter what size knife you get. This is a Bravo 1.25. This is a fairly thin handle, and I have large to XL size hands. So length, they're usually going to fit me just fine, even though some of them don't, like a Fox River. But this one does, but it's thin. It's very thin. This is the Grizzly, and I had this rehandled and custom done to make it thicker. A lot thicker. And it fits my hand way better. It makes chopping much more fun. It just makes knife work with this much more fun. And this choil was redone a little bit and softened out, because guess what? I forgot to say it. On the steel, your choils will always be sharp. This is not sharp because it was reworked a little bit. So that's kind of what you're going to get handle-wise when you get them. You're going to get a thin knife that's just, a good camp knife. Good for just about a little bit of everything. Not great for that much of everything. Your warranties on them are awesome. You know what? You have any issues with your knife, you can warranty it up. Spend the $30 to $50 in shipping these days that they just raise their prices to, and you can get anything fixed. You take the tip off of something, they'll grind it back out for you. They'll resharpen them and make them look pretty good. So that's cool. What I kind of get into is the price when you get to these. And that's kind of where I'm going to bring in some competitive options and say, what do you pay for the Bark River knives now? It's generally between, on the low end, $275. Yeah, look at them. They're now usually about $275. Your average is $300 to $350 for a decent handle scale. Anything that's not like a black micarta. And your really high-end ones are now $400 plus. So you're spending, on average, $300 to $400 on a knife from Bark River now. Now that's some money. That is a lot of money. Most of these I spent under $200 for. This one was a gift. I think this was probably bought at list price. These two, I picked these up on eBay for under $200, and this one was a little over $200. And it just kind of depends where you get them and how you get them. But if you buy them new, you're talking about a $300 to $400 knife. And what you're getting is a thinner handle that is never going to be perfect. There's going to be some issues in it. It's going to not be perfect on your steel. There's always going to be grind issues. And you can call that semi-custom. And this is kind of where I get into other knives. Is that if I'm going to spend $300 to $400, I don't want those issues. I don't want these blade issues. I don't want fullers that are off. Because I can actually go and spend the same amount of money. This is an Adventure Sworn. This is a $300 knife, 3V, that doesn't have that. The handles are basically perfect. They are perfect. The grinds, basically pure perfection. And I've had a lot of Adventure Sworns. Okay, maybe like 5 Adventure Sworns. To me, that's a lot. I know the brand. I've beat the crap out of them. I've kept 3. They do really, really well on their quality control. LT Wright, they're less expensive than these. This is a 3V LT Wright Outback. The handle is basic perfection. The grinds are perfection on all the LT Wrights that I've owned. This is probably one of my favorites because it fits my hand the best. So I'm bringing it out and saying, this costs less than one of these, and you can tell that someone has spent more time to make these. They've spent more time perfecting them. And that's kind of my point. Is even if you buy, like, if you ever had a Fiddleback Forge, I found about 6 of those, maybe 7. They don't fit my hands that well. They're a little bit smaller, but they are perfect. They are absolutely perfect in their grinds. They are perfect in their handles. They're amazing. Am I a fanboy? No, I don't own any of them anymore because they don't fit me that well. But for fit and finish, you can tell that someone spent hours more on those knives than a Bark River. Now, you can call it semi-custom. Those are semi-custom. They're all made the exact same way. LT Wright, Venture Sworn, even the Dark Timbers. Actually, I'd say Dark Timbers are made less. They're more CNC'd just because they're handle scales. Yes, I own a ton of those. I'll do a brand review on that. Groupthink is all over this brand, even more than Bark River. Actually, Groupthink, I feel like, started with Dark Timber. But they're not that old, so definitely not. But even the older versions were more fit and finished. I can't stand the newer ones, but even these, you can tell they spent more time on them than Bark River did. Now, does that mean I hate Bark River knives? No, not at all. I've kept these. I'm not selling them. They're amazing. But they have flaws, and I know they have flaws. And the reason why I kept these is because these just look so darn cool. One, I helped start the channel with the Ultralight Bushcrafter, so I love this knife. I'm not going to sell it. Does it have flaws? Absolutely. Is it thinner than the new ones? Absolutely. And the new ones still have always the same issues. Bark River Bushcrafter. Is this perfect? Absolutely not. Terrible grind there. Do I love it because it's the coolest handle scale? Absolutely. Is it perfect? Nope. It's even rough on the edges. It's rough back here. Is it super comfortable? No, but it's just so darn cool. I've used it a lot. I've taken it to the deer woods and hunting. It's not leaving. This is a plain Jane 1.25 LT. It was a gift from my father in black, I think canvas micarta. I just love this knife. It's a gift. I'm never getting rid of it. It's a great camp knife. Is it perfect? Nope. But I love it because it's a gift. What about this one? This one is just one of those that I say, what's the term? It's the second kind of cool. Purpose of it, there's other knives that can probably do it better, but I think this is one of the coolest looking knives. It's one of the best feeling knives now that the scales are redone and that the choil has been softened out, ground out again. And it's awesome. And I just love the Grizzly. Do they make them anymore? Nope. So it's kind of it might be a collector piece, but I beat the death out of this knife, and it's really been a lot of fun. So am I going to sell it? Nope. Does that mean I hate Bark Rivers? Nope. Does it mean I'm a super fanboy? Nope. The reality is I'm not going to buy another Bark River brand new unless the design is something so unique that I can't get it anywhere else. Because in all reality, I can tell that time has been spent on other knives that's worth it more for the same price. I'm going to buy an LT Wright if it does the same thing as this. I know it's going to be more perfect. It just will be. I'm going to buy an Adventure Sworn because I know they'll spend more time on it. If I want a tiny knife, I'll go buy a Fiddleback Forge because if I'm going to spend $300 and $400 on it, I want it to be perfect. And someone will say, well, you can't get perfection for that. Yeah, but have you bought these and compared them? You're in a whole different level for the same price point. And now Bark Rivers are $400. $400? You kidding me? That's near custom level. And yeah, you can get a ton of custom makers that'll spend, you can good $200 with them, and they'll make you an amazing knife to your specs for that price point, and they'll spend hours on it so it looks good and it works well. And yeah, I know this is a high-end, they're a production company. They're based more on production than quality now. And you can send stuff into them, but you'll lose 2 months in shipping and the time they fix it. And you spent $400 for it. And it's just like, you can expect more. You should expect more for your money because other companies are providing that for the same or less money. So there it is, the truth of a Bark River. You're going to get a nice working blade. You're going to get a comfortable handle. It's not going to be super fat. It's going to be on the thinner side. It's going to have mistakes all over it, and they are not semi-custom flare. They are mistakes. They are bad grinds. They are people that are not spending time on them. Does that mean they're actually like awful? No, they cut great, but they are just jacked up in looks in comparison. And when you can go and find something that someone spent more time on, will be more precise with, and will love it more when they're making it, I'm going to spend my money with that other company. So just know that if you buy a Bark River, don't expect perfection. You won't get it. There's going to be flaws. Know that, and know that they are, in my mind, unacceptable because other companies are proving that it can be done for the same amount of price or less. So there you go. Bark River, the true truth about them. Don't get stuck up in the groupthink. They are not the best knife company out there by any means. Do I like them? Absolutely. Do I love them? Nope. Kind of over them. I can get better somewhere else. And that's kind of just where I'm at. If they have a super cool design, maybe I'll spring for one in the future. Otherwise, they are not worth the price buying new in my mind. So there's that. Now you have the honest truth. You're welcome.